Like Emmett said, we're Randy and Bo Jones. We're from Millersburg, Ohio, and I believe we collectively have been collecting since 2010. Is that right?
That's correct.
When Randy and I got back together, the first time I went to his condo, he started talking about this glass. And he kept talking about this glass and talking about this glass. And I'm thinking, a man who collects glass? Isn't that kind of weird? But we went to the Whitley auction. I fell in love with the glass then. And this is what it ended up. Go ahead.
Okay. And first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for having us down as speakers and stuff. It's been great, enjoyable. One thing that we've learned in Carnival Glass is we've met friends all over the country. And I was a motorhead my life for a whole life and drag race and stuff. And you had your buddies, but you didn't have like friends like you run into the Carnival Glass people. Everybody's so appreciative and nice to be around, and we enjoy it. We come down here to Texas our first time being here. And you just feel comfortable, like you're welcome and you're at home. And that's the amazing part about Carnival Glass. And, you know, we go back to, we call it our first convention, was the Floyd Whitley auction in St. Louis. And we go out there, and if you was there, you know, a little bit of fiasco and stuff went on and everything. And you know, we give a lot of credit to Doug and Karen Engel, because here we are, a couple people from Holmes County, Ohio. Newbies. And you go out there and this ruckus is going on with Don Clark and all this stuff, you know, and we was in the center of it, and you know, she runs up a $10,000 powder jar and all this stuff, you know, and we're sitting there thinking, man, if this is what Carnival Glass is about, I don't need this. You know, we're in the trucking business, we got enough crap, we don't need this. So, well, before the auction was over, Doug and Karen Engel come back, and they was talking to us, and they, you know, and made us feel good and everything. And I go walking out in the hallway, and here comes this big fella out there, and he comes over and puts his arm around me, and he, you know, and he's like a gentle giant, and saying, you know, the Carnival Glass people aren't like this. You know, he says, hang in there, you know, you'll enjoy yourself. And really, I mean, it was really satisfying and comfortable. And it was Floyd, and we had went out there for one thing, this little spit tune, Country Kitchen spit tune. So we managed to get that. And I always tell the thing, this is how much we knew. I never had anything but Millersburg glass. And up on a little table, they had a little thing roped off there. It's such a little aqua opal crepe and cable cracker jar. So I asked if I can hold it and look at it, and I'm looking at it. And we go around looking at other glass and stuff. And I really just wanted that spit tune. I told my wife, I said, you know, honey, this thing's kind of cute. I said, if I can get this $400 or $500, it's not Millersburg, I'm gonna take it home if that's okay. She goes, well, that's fine, whatever you want. So we're sitting there, and this thing comes up, and I'm getting ready to bid. Got my bid card out, and it starts out at $26,000 and ends up at $68,000. And I looked at her and I says, I guess we really don't know what we're doing. And you know, it made such an impression on you. I'll remember it forever. But, you know, it's a lot of fun. And the other side of the story, Don Clark, we went out to Doug and Karen's many, many times. We went down there at his house. Quite a gentleman at his house. Almost it's like daylight and dark. I mean, what a fine gentleman he was at home. And we become good friends with him and stuff. And Christmas time we exchanged stuff back and forth. And we was out a year ago and visited him and stuff. So, you know, it's really, really been enjoyable. And so that's kind of how we got started into this little hobby here. And the other thing I like to do is I'd like to really, Carl and Eunice Booker really deserve their awards they got. They're great people. They were at our home here in the last few months, spent some time with them. You know, you can't help but love them. You know, like I say, what do you find bad to say about them? They're just great people. So I really think it's great that the Whitley Award really fits them. And, you know, it's kind of cool that they got the trifecta. And so congratulations. And also congratulations to the club, you know, 40th anniversary. You know, we feel kind of special. We can come down here. It's the first time we've been here and it's the 40th anniversary. It's been nothing but good experience. The food's just great. Like, I really need the food, but it's fantastic. And the meal tonight was great, and everything's been, it's been all good. And again, just thank all of you for it. And so with that being said, we'll get starting on glass. Honestly, this is my first real speech by herself and stuff like that. And I just wanted to bring Millersburg Glass because we're from Millersburg. We thought, you know, a lot of people may not have ever seen any of this stuff. And so we brought probably more than we should, and probably left some at home we should have brought. But so we decided to bring some up and share it with you. You know, hope you enjoy it, seeing it, and appreciate it. And if that happens, that makes us happy, and it's all good. So,
what you going to start with?
Well, why don't we start down here with the Vaseline?
Why don't you?
Yeah. All right. I kind of like Vaseline, as you probably figured. So we brought 11 pieces. I got 12. I don't know why I left the one behind, but I got 11 of them here for you. And so, you know, some of it's pretty special. And this is one we're pretty proud of here. This is the woodpecker vase, and to my knowledge, it's the only one known. And it's got his buddy over here. We got the Marigold one here, and I believe that there's 3 of them out there. And again, I always say, knowing or whatever, if somebody knows something different, feel free to speak up. But you know, from our neck of the woods up there, this is what we know. And I'm sure down here, you people might know some things that we don't know about it. And this is kind of a unique piece that I got off of Marie McGee, and I only bought it for one thing. It was Vaseline, and it's just a heavy, huge hunk of Vaseline. You know, if you ever find the top, give me a call. And there's a couple different fleur-de-lis, the ice cream shape, and the flared, and here's an acorn vase, and this Dave Castor's here, it's a strawberry one. I'm sure that it's got strawberries on. Oh,
and I want to point out, when you're looking at our glass later, if you see any drool marks on it, Dave helped us.
And this is a nappy, 3/4 nappy Night Star in Vaseline. Another nice piece, it's a little hard to find. So, and this is probably one of my favorite ones here. This is a big fish. And, you know, I like it even if it isn't even Vaseline, if it's sitting there with nothing on it. It's just beautiful colors and stuff to it. And so it's one of my favorite pieces, I should say. And then to my knowledge, there's 5 acorn vases out there.
And Vaseline or total?
Total.
Okay.
And there's 4 of the colors here. We have all 4 of them. There's one other green one that I know of. And I always kind of liked these. I went up to Michigan to buy them, and I ended up with one, and our friends Kathy and Galen ended up with one. I found out where the Vaseline one was, so when I was able to make a deal and get the Vaseline, then I got kicked in gear there, and I had to find all 4 of them because I had to have them all together. So, you know, I get like that at times. I don't know if that's what you call it, but you got to have them all together. And so, pretty proud of them little rascals. Here's the other ones up here, the amethyst, the marigold, and the green one. And this is some people might call it the blank of the flowering vine. It's actually called the Tulip jelly compote. And it's, as you can see, it's really Vaseline. And to me, Vaseline, everybody has a different opinion of Vaseline. I think Vaseline should fluorescent. You know, you have some that you put green lights on them, or a black light on, and they show green or whatever, but true Vaseline to me should be fluorescent. This bowl here was kind of funny because we used to have a 64 Corvette, and in 64, Swin Bicycle made a model called a Stingray. So while we had that vet, I was always looking for an old Stingray bike that I could buy and refurbish, because the 64 vet we had was a fuel injected, and it only had 18,000 miles on it. So I wanted a bicycle with it. So one day I went by down around New Philly, Ohio, and they was having a yard sale there, and there's a bunch of bicycles. So I pull in there looking at bicycles. This thing's sitting over there on the table, and the sun's out, and it's a glowing. I couldn't even talk about the bicycles, so I go over there, root through this glass these guys got. I picked this thing up, you know, and they didn't want hardly anything for it. I think it was 25 bucks, something like that. So I didn't even Jew them. I just paid them, took the thing home, and it's basically, we call it the blank of the big fish. It's a flute bowl, but it's the same size, the 8 inches, the big fish. So, you know, learned a long time ago from some of the collectors, if it's yours, you can call it what you want. So we call that the big fish blank. That's pretty much on our Vaseline there. And as we go down through here, we got Diamonds punch bowls.
I just found out something about that Marigold one.
Yes.
It used to be Jim Seek's.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Did we not get that from from Ernie, who got it from Stacy?
Right,
mm-hmm.
Right. Interesting story on these.
What's that?
I bought it from Don Moore.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
The interesting thing on them, the first Millersburg Glass Association, the first big sale we had on the courthouse lawn, they sold a lot of Stacy's glass. Well, my wife and I went there, and he had a Gay 90s water set with all 6 tumblers that matched, and he had the big Thistle. So we bought them, and we was pretty much out of money, but I really liked these diamond punch bowls. Well, some Amish guy was bidding on them, buying them. I didn't think much of it, and I just knew that I couldn't afford them that day. So a couple years later, I happened to be at that Amish fellow's place of business, and I said, I recognize you from being down. I said, you collect Carnival Glass? He goes, yeah, a little bit. But he said, actually, he said, I bought them for the guy that owns this business. So I go upstairs and talk to Ernie. And he's got 2 of them. I said, well, why didn't you buy the amethyst one? Well, Ernie was on vacation in Florida, and he gave this Amish fellow work for him there a price to pay for each one of them. Well, the amethyst went for $500 more than what he told him to pay for. So he didn't buy it. So Ernie, the guy that actually owned them, he goes, if you're interested in them, I'll sell them to you, because you know, if I can't have them all, I don't want them. So I ended up with them. Checkbook recouped by then. We brought them home, so it was really nice. And then this is the big Thistle. There's 2 of them going with the base, and there's one around that. I actually did it for the guy. A great big chunk broke out of it, and I glued it back together for him, but it doesn't have the base. But this 2 here, I think I have this one, and Christina has the other one, which was in Holmes County. Ray Miller had the other one originally, before she got it. And this is just a little one. You know, the thing that always amazed me, intrigued me a lot about Millersburg was they was in business for 34 months. Is how they could make this much glass and so many shapes and stuff. I mean, they just must have had people down there just going wild. Just, I think I'll try this, try that, because they made all kinds of stuff. You know, this is just a little Marigold tri-cornered bowl. You know, I don't know if there's more out there or not. It's the only one I ever seen. Just kind of cute little thing. And so this is the flowering vine called Compote, which you can see is married to that. And this is the green rosin Compote here.
Oh, back a little bit. It's going to fall off the end.
And so far I've only been able to land one of these butterfly and corn vases here. It's hooked on there.
Okay, good.
So, and the Elks paperweight, which I'm sure some, you know, there's a few of them around. And got into sauces here a while back, so we have our rosin sauces. And this is another one of my motorcycle trips here. Tom Burns called me one time and said, hey, I got a piece going up to New England convention up there, you might be interested in. He said, I just found it down in Virginia at a place. He told me what it was, so I got up 3 o'clock in the morning, got on my Harley, and I rode over to the New England place. I get in there, this was like number 18 in the auction, and he was, thank goodness it was Tom selling, he was like on number 6. So, didn't know anybody really from there. So I sit there and I get this thing bought and I go up and pay for it and I get on the Harley and I ride back home that night. So the next time we went over to the New England convention over there, they kind of let me know about that. Just popping in, grabbing a piece and leaving. And but it all makes fun. Got a couple unlettered courthouse bowls. And what makes them unlettered, for the ones that don't know, down at the bottom, this would say Millersburg, Ohio on it. And so
there's something else special about those too.
Yes, and I'll get to that. And here's a 3-in-1 one that's an unlettered one, and they make it in ruffled, and I believe there's a lavender. Some people call lavender out there, and I think in the ice cream, there's 3 or 4 known in the ice cream. That's a harder one to find. I'm not really sure on the 3-in-1 how many is out there. But we're kind of fond of the courthouse bowl because that's where my wife worked for many years and she retired from there. She had the biggest office in the courthouse. It's on the top, the northeast corner of the courthouse there. If you ever come to Millersburg, the little gas station there, it's right there on that corner on front facing Main Street. So they're special, so I have to have them for her, you know. It's just one of them things. And so we go up here, before I get along too far, this is what we call our Millersburg funeral vases. Because why they never made any funeral vases, I don't know. So we call this the funeral vases. There's, to my knowledge, there's 2 amethysts and 1 green one, known. So it's a big heavy hunk of glass. It's made out of the rose bowl.
Hobstar and feather.
Hobstar and feather, yes. This is a Ohio Star giant or tall compote here. It's kind of unique. A lot of them are flared out or ruffled or whatever. This is kind of straight up or even turned in just a little bit, but it's the only one I've seen that's actually got the shape like that. Then the deep grape compotes, we just brought a couple of them along. This one, after I got all the others, John Rogers thought maybe I should have this. So naturally he come up to stay with it. He just has to bring it in his car to,
I just brought something I think y'all might like.
Yeah, so, but it's, you know, it's beautiful. You know, with Millersburg, you don't get a lot of radium in the blue. A lot of it's silvery, satiny or whatever. So, you know, this has got a lot of radium on it. It's kind of special. And, you know, I think there's 2 or 3 of these known. I'm not 100% sure who owns them, but, and this one's the one I don't know who named it, they call this one the loving cup. Supposedly this is the way it come out of the mold. It just goes straight up. They're not flared out or anything. They're angled out like that. But it's pretty and it's different, so you have to have them. So I think we got like 8 different shapes on them. Then you get into some more sauces, a little seaweed sauce. You know, here's another piece, that's just kind of unique piece that Millersburg did. It's a gravy boat. You know, they're just simple. They stick the bowl and pull it out a little bit. But in Millersburg, that makes it kind of unique. People like it. So.
What pattern, Randy?
I'm sorry, this is holly. The holly gravy boat. There's another, it's an amethyst seaweed sauce here. And then you have the little multiflower and fruit sherbet, green. I believe they make them in amethyst. But this is kind of a little cutie leaf and little flower one. It's kind of unique because it's iridized on the outside and the inside. And
isn't that just beautiful?
It's just a cute little rascal. So, you know, I don't know how many of them's out there like that. This is the only one I know of or seen, but somebody I seen on Facebook had a picture of one on there, so there must be another one on there after I'd had this one on here.
Now,
so.
Is that the same one as the Olympic? I mean, is it the same mold?
Size and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we haven't been able to capture one of them Olympics yet.
Do you know how many there are?
Of the
Olympics?
leaf and little flowers?
No, the Olympic. Is it Olympia or?
Olympic.
Olympic.
I know personally there's 2 green ones and 1 amethyst one that I know of.
Are there any more, Jim Seek? Do you know?
I thought there was just 2, but I don't know where the other green one is.
Yeah, there's 2 green ones and 1 amethyst.
One in here, don't they? Yeah, we only green. Yeah.
Is there just one?
Ernie Booker has talked to us, he said he knows of another green.
Okay.
Oh, really?
That's what Randy's talking about or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. One lane knows about. Then we get into chop plates, and plates in Millersburg, any plate in Millersburg is really rare because Millersburg didn't have a mold for plates or anything. And so we brought these out to show you. This one here is the Hanging Cherries variant, and it's an inch shorter diameter, and it's got 8 sides on it. And it's plain back, it's not the hobnail. But this is a chop plate variant. Then beside it here is the Hanging Cherries Marigold. And the green one, that's another special piece to it because through this Carnival Glass business, we've met some other really true friends, Kathy and Galen Johnson. They've been so helpful to us. They come and visit us and stuff. And they were doing a seminar in Florida on green one year. And I just really liked that thing, and I mentioned it to them, and some time went by, and they fixed us up. And so, you know, it's a special piece to us. And then here's an Elks bowl, Millersburg Elks bowl, and it's really a pretty one. You know, as far as compared to most of them, I don't know if there's any out there that's any more. Some people call it the proof bowl. I don't know if it's a proof bowl or not because they did pull it out a little bit. For the proof, it should be straight up. But I've always just left a proof name on it because that's when it sold to me. That's what it sold to me as. But then the memorial ashtrays, we have the amethyst one. And the marigold one here. Millersburg made a lot of nice small pieces of glass. It's really unique and pretty. Then we get into the powder jars. After we had that fiasco out there at the Whitley deal, the $10,000 one.
Yeah, Jim C. couldn't keep up, hardly, could you?
As soon as it said sold, my phone goes off. I got a text from a guy back in Millersburg. He goes, "I'll sell you one."
You said you want to buy a powder jar, a green one?
So he sold us this one. He was very right with us on the price. Wasn't near $10,000, and so we had to have that. Then one time we was at a local auction, and they had this marigold on moonstone one, and I thought that was pretty neat. I never seen one. I have the only one. Well, I get back to Holmes County, and there's another guy got one there, Steve Mogg.
Is that the one that Galen was looking at that same auction? Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Randy have a lot of likes.
Yeah.
Yep.
He costs me a lot of money at auctions, by the way, Galen does. But we're still friends. It's all good. It's kind of interesting because, like the woodpecker vases here, there's 2 marigold ones known. Steve Mogg is a buddy of mine in Holmes County. He happens to have the other one.
And we know a guy that just has the woodpecker itself, right?
Just the woodpecker, and it's neat. It's like it was never put onto the. It's just it's perfect. It's Vaseline, and Steve also has the other one of these. There's 2 of these bases that most people don't know, but Steve has one of them.
So it's a race to find the top.
Yeah. So you know, it's kind of ironic that there in Millersburg there's 3 things there that most people think there's only one of, but between Steve and us, there's 2 of them. It makes it fun. And then, you know, a lot of people see these spittoons and stuff in, and this is kind of a special one. It's, you know, squashed down, wide mouth on it. It's pretty, marigold, deep color, and that's what we do. When we first started collecting and stuff, I was kind of like one of them guys that, you know, just bought anything you seen or whatever. And a lot of help through people in the Carnival Glass world. I credit a lot to Aaron Hurst, Tom Mordini, Kathy and Galen, and people like that. You know, you talk to them, they tell you things, what you should look for, how to. Aaron Hurst gave me a real good lecture one time about, like, my dad on color and things like that. So as we decided that we're going to go more for color and rarities.
Looking for the needle in the haystack.
Looking for the needle in the haystack is what we call it. And it's been a lot more challenging. So we got rid of a lot of what we called the common stuff and stuff. and started focusing more on items like this. And that way we can keep it all up. We're in our living quarters instead of having a basement full of glass that we never go down and see and enjoy it. I feel if you have the glass, the only way you enjoy it, you got to have it where you can see it. And so that's, if you come to our house, and anytime anybody's in that area, you give us a call for a round, you're always welcome. And but you know, we live around this glass all the time. It's where we can see it
And we have
enjoy it.
13 grandchildren and they've never
Yes,
touched,
they-
well, that's not true. One day, no, that wasn't glass. That
No.
was, what's it called? That we get from
The Chris Carpenter glass,
Chris Carpenter.
Pilgrim glass.
Pilgrim glass. He walked through and he was just like, looked at it and went, and it fell right on the floor. Didn't even break. I was surprised. But they never touch it, which is a good thing.
And like I say, you know, do a lot of upgrading in collection and stuff like that. And you know, this is the master ice cream bowl here. And you know, we just keep upgrading until we get a little better colors as we go along. And here's a unique piece, a big fish tri-corner. That's really got some pretty color on it. And I like the fish bowls. And Morning Glory tanker. We've been able to get the amethyst one so far. Keep working on, maybe someday we'll get the other one. And the other thing that I thought was really unique, it's kind of special for you guys on your 40th anniversary, is you're probably the only convention that's ever had 2 complete sets of these in there. And it was really nice to see the other set here, because that's pretty cool. And there's not that many out there. To have 6 of them here at one time, that's really nice. This piece here, this is always will be true and dear to our heart, because Karen Engel and Doug Engel are really, Karen was a dear friend of ours, and we still go out and visit Doug. We're going on a fishing trip with him later in the year. And she come to Millersburg to buy that. And I knew she'd come to Millersburg for some reasons, and they stay at our house. I said, all right, Karen, you didn't fly all the way back out here. There's got to be something there you're after. And I already have a mind made up I was going to buy that. Well, that's what she wanted. Well, we knew Karen's health situation, and so Bo and I decided we'll just let Karen get it, let her enjoy it when she can, and then we can
In
buy
fact,
it
she
later.
told us that when I'm gone,
Right.
you have first chance at that.
So she called us up one day and wanted us to come out. We went out. So we made a deal with her on some private stuff. You know, it's kind of a touchy deal. We didn't want to go in and strip her Millersburg Glass collection. You know, that's not fair to everybody else out there. But there's a few pieces, like that was one of them. And the
3
blackberry bark vase.
and the
was on-
humidors
And the pipe humidors.
and a chop plate,
Yeah, one of these the
Black-
amethyst.
amethyst.
Peacock chalk plate there. We bought them privately off of her for a sale. She had like 40,
And the woodpecker vase, Vaseline.
yeah, the Vaseline. And the woodpecker vase is the same way. She called me up and said, you interested in that woodpecker vase that burns in Solomon, Michigan? And I said, well, yeah, we're going to ride the bike up there, Big John and I, and buy it. And I go, why? She goes, well, I was kind of interested. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go up there. I said, I like to have the woodpecker vase and the acorn vase. I'll work on the acorn vases. You get the woodpecker vase. And so she ended up with us. And then she called me that evening and she said, you know, same thing go with that as the rose bowls. When I'm going, you get first dibs at it. So when we went out there on that trip, we bought that stuff privately before. So she wanted me to buy the whole Millersburg Glass case. And that was out of my league. And it's like, honestly, I don't mind sharing numbers. I told her, I said, Karen, I don't have $450,000 to pay you for 47 pieces of glass.
And still live.
And she says, she goes, oh, it's not worth that much. And I said, well, it is. Well, with what we paid her and what her pieces brought at auction, brought $458,000. That's pretty amazing for 47 pieces of Millersburg Glass. And
The only thing that we told her is we'll take the glass, or we'll pay for the glass, but we're not taking it until
Right.
you're gone. I just didn't think that was set well. I mean, you know, she had a library that well, Jim knows, he was there with all the Millersburg in that beautiful cabinet, and she looked at it every day. So Randy said, the deal is, we'll give you the check, but we're not taking it until you're gone. So she got to enjoy it up till the last
well,
day.
about 3 months later, we was out there and she insisted on us taking it. I said, that's not the deal. just write me a check back for it. The deal is it stays here. So she accepted it, and we're glad we did it that way, because anybody knew Karen, Carnival Glass was her life. You know, and she's very ill. She sits there, she looks at it. You take it out of there, it's just, to me, it's just a down spiral to depression or something. So, you know, we was just tickled. We knew we'd get it sooner or later. It wasn't going anywhere. So, but you know, that's just the friendship and stuff you make in Carnival Glass. It goes on and on and on. And this is the other bad boy that I almost got a divorce over, because we decided at that Millersburg sale that I was going to buy the big Thistle. She wanted this gay 90s water set, and there's 6 matching tumblers with it, and they're all perfectly matched. And I was so excited I got the big Thistle that they're selling that one there. She got up and went to the restroom. She come back and they're already on selling that thing. She goes, "Are you going to bid on that thing?" I said, "Oh." And they almost sold it. He was ready to say sold. I held my hand up and started bidding on it. I'd have probably been sleeping out in the barn somewhere. But,
maybe in the pasture, not the barn.
Yeah. Here's another piece that's really special. It'll never go anywhere. This is Floyd Whitley's. And I even did as much research as I could do on it. Sold. We were the 3rd time it sold at public auction. And it's definitely a piece you're not going to make any money on, because every time it's sold, it sells for $6,000. This is a $6,000 spittoon. Floyd paid $6 for it, we paid $6 for it, and the person Floyd bought it up paid $6. That's as far back as I could track. But it's just...
Yeah, 6,000.
6,000, yes. And, you know, it's just a beautiful, unique little thing, little whimsy that they made, and just love it. We drove all the way out there just to get this thing, and wasn't going home without it. Even with Don Clark there, we still wasn't going home without it.
See, I had that all planned, Randy.
Yeah.
I made him spend 10 grand on that powder jar, and then he wasn't interested in that one.
Yeah. Hey, here's a nice thing, just because of pretty, you know, a nice spooner, a green
Sugar?
one, or sugar. No, that's a spooner.
It is? Okay.
And but it's got just beautiful color in it. And as most of you know that's been around Millersburg, it's hard to get pretty Millersburg green. The green and the blues are just pretty tough. And when you see a pretty piece, you just need to buy it, because if you don't, somebody's going to get it and then...
How many green rose bowls are there? I know that's the only emerald green, but how many, are there other green ones?
Yeah, there's several. Then one time, this is several years ago, before we was even together, I remember reading a book or an article somewhere in there about the Isaac Benish, that somebody had wrote an article on it, and it was, I'm sure it was an older collector. I was reading one that just, and they were talking about one that was missing an S in it. And we'd been out to Karen's many times in years, and Doug had like 64 pieces of advertising on a wall. They were all like this, each row would come across, and everyone's. And I always wondered with that collection, why do you have 2 Isaac Benish bowls on there? But I didn't go over there and take them off or really look at them, because she had a couch in front of them and stuff. Didn't want to look obvious, being nosy. So when I went out with Jim Rhoda to help him pack up the glass and stuff, I told Doug that so he didn't have to do anything and plus I get to see Doug. We went out, and then being in the trucking business, I get to drive the truck back home. And if that wasn't pins and needles, snowing and stuff, driving the truck home with all her glass and a bunch of antiques and other things.
Kind of like it was coming out here with the glass.
Yeah.
Little bumps like this feel like great big craters, and you just cringe, and oh.
So I'm taking these advertising pieces off the wall, and I took the one down, and I looked at it, okay, and the other one, I get it, I start to wrap it up, and I thought, wait a minute, there's got to be something about this thing. So I took it back apart, and it's the one missing the S on it. Now, I don't know how many of them are out there missing the S, but I just thought it was really unique. You know, in the article I remember reading years ago, and I mean, I'm talking probably 15 years ago or so that I read that, and I don't know why I remembered it. Every time I seen an Isaac Benish bowl, I always look for one missing an S on it. And then I get out there, and then I found that one. And actually, Jim Rhoda didn't even know, and I told him, I said, look at this, Jim, you know what this is? He goes, yeah, it's an Isaac Benish. I said, no, it's missing an S. So I got the other one out and showed him. He didn't know that there was one missing an S. So it was pretty cool. And then the blackberry bark vase. You all knew one sold here a while back. good friend out here down in this area got one of them. And this was Karen's, and we got them. What's really neat about it, it's got the stippled, almost like a raisin ribbon deal inside here, and it only goes down about this far. So I haven't figured that out yet, but I'd like to do a little studying to figure out if there's any information why they only did that or whatever, but it's really unique. And most people look at these, there's 3 of them known that I know of, they don't even notice this in here. And it's to me, it's pretty intriguing. Another great piece. And then Tom Mordini told me one time that his knowledge, he said there's only Millersburg blue, he said there's 5 or 6 pieces that are radium in the blue. And I seen this one day, so I had to buy it. And then I got the deep grape compote. So I figured, well, I got 2 of them, so I got 3 or 4 more to go, but I'm sure there's more out there. Maybe there is more, I don't know. But these are the only ones that I've seen. But it is kind of nice to see the blue it's all radium and not the satiny finish. Nothing wrong with the satin finish, it's just unique that it's radium. It's a 3-in-1 edge and stuff. And this was an eBay purchase years ago. And it was a buy it now for $59.95. It's like, dink.
We're not that lucky anymore
Right.
with eBay.
So, and that's how Tom and Jim were at our house, and that's when Tom told me that there's only 5 or 6 of them pieces known. Then when he seen it, he was surprised to see it. This piece here, we got a couple local auction companies that'll call me and they give us estate sales and stuff, and I'll go out and identify glass for them. Trout and fly plate, okay? And I think there's maybe 4 of them known that I know of. I go down a little town called Baldicahia. It's out an old farm, run-down farm stuff, and the 2 boys was there that inherited the farm, and their father had just passed away, and mother passed away several years before that. So we go in the house there, and they had a half dozen pieces of carnival glass there, and I told them what it was and stuff. And while we're standing there, they're digging stuff out from the kitchen sink, and it's all gooey, black, greasy stuff, and there's some jars in there and stuff. And this is in there, but honestly, you couldn't tell it was a carnival plate. It was just, it had grease and stuff, crud built up on it.
Soap.
It had an old Comet, you know what Comet is. One of them old cans laying sideways on there, looked like it'd been there for 20 years and stuff. So I said, you mind if I clean this up a little bit? Because there was so much on it, you couldn't even feel the pattern on it. And I kept cleaning it. And it's like, wow. So I took it out to the barn where they had some soap to clean the milkers with. Cleaned it up really good, and it's the first time that I've ever seen Millersburg with stretch glass in it. It's got stretchy marks in it. So I told these 2 farm boys probably what this plate would bring, and I thought they had a heart attack. This plate probably brought more money than the rest of their chattels did. And of course, I tell the auctioneer that. So they go take it up and put it in their office and put it in a safe. And I said, you know, you might want to put it on the internet so people know you got it, because if not, it ain't going to bring anything. And I mean, I could have been a guy and kept my mouth shut and went there, and hopefully nobody showed up. But I just can't do that. If I see somebody's glass, I give them an honest opinion on it, told them what it was worth. Well, it went with what I told them it'd go. And, but very glad to have it. It ended up being a beautiful plate. But the only thing I regret, I wish, had I known this is what it was, I'd have took a picture of the way the guy pulled it out in front of the sink. It was amazing. Okay. All right, so then we go along, we have some more sauces. We got the vintage hobnail sauces up here in the blue and the marigold and the green, hanging cherries 3-in-1. Got a ruffled vintage and amethyst there. This is not carnival, but to my knowledge, it's the only one. It's blue uniodized. And what's funny in Millersburg glass, if it's crystal, it's country kitchen. But if it's a carnival glass, it's potpourri. It's the same pattern. So this, I ended up with this piece here. It's just pretty, and had to have it.
Steve Mogg sold it to us, and he still whines about
Yeah.
it.
And this was a piece that found and went through Ben Hirschberger, through Aaron Hurst, before I get to it. A gentleman found this. He paid $37.50 for it at Medina Antique Mall at Medina, Ohio. Took it down to Ben Hirschberger. Ben Hirschberger sold to Aaron. Aaron comes to our fall gathering, and he's rubbing it under everybody's nose, you know. Here's this Amishman from Pennsylvania coming here stealing our glass. And I can say that because him and I have a blast with each other. So we're down in Florida at the Tampa auction. He's down there showing it off. And so I get talking to him. I said, all right, you've had your fun with it. That needs to come back to Millersburg. And he said, well, we'll talk about it. So we went on, and then we got talking about the flute bases. And we had the blue one that we bought locally there, and I knew Aaron had the amethyst. I said, I'd like to have that flute base. So he made me a deal down there. Now, this guy only ever met me one time in Millersburg at the gathering. Talk about carnival friends. We're down there, and he says, I'll make you a deal. He gave me a price on both of them. He said, but here's the deal. You take this one home with you. When I get home, I'll send you the flute base. You look at them. You send me a check for both of them. Don't try to buy one. If you don't want both of them, send them both back to me. You pay the shipping back to me. So he sent me the flute base, and we kept them. And here's another one that we got. It's kind of neat. I'd say it's the only piece of Millersburg black amethyst because it looks black. But one day I was messing around with it because I knew Millersburg didn't make black, so I took the lampshade off one of our floor lamps. I stuck it down over there, and it's actually olive green.
Can you do it here, Randy, with the light?
I don't know if it'll,
No.
if you can see it or not.
No.
But
Oh, yeah, there. Can you see it, guys? Olive green
yeah,
back
it's
there?
actually olive green. But I like to have fun with it and tell people it's Millersburg's black amethyst. And you know, here's another little piece, very inexpensive. It's always like you can call it what you want. Well,
That one wasn't inexpensive.
yeah, well.
No, we bought it
for
as a
what?
plate.
Yeah, it's a plate. But you know, honestly, I don't think it's a plate because to me the ends are turned up that it's not a plate. But it's pretty flat, just a Cosmo bowl there. And but we call it a plate because that's what we bought it at. When we seen it.
That's what we paid it at.
Yeah. Sometimes you're gullible.
Yep.
And we have the rose column vases that people have seen as far as that goes. We think they're pretty nice ones as far. And here's another nesting swan. Like I say, over the years, you just keep trying to upgrade and upgrade.
Do you remember these, Jim? Weren't these the ones, nesting swans, that Tom Mardini brought when you guys were there? Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is one of my favorite ones here for a deep flared one. I like it when the bird's got all kind of color on it. And another very nice one. We have the hobnail here. We got the marigold, the blue, and the amethyst. And
Does
up here-
anyone know if there's any blue that actually look blue and not silver? No?
Another rare pattern that a lot of people don't know about. This is called a Stiffled Diamonds. There's a handful of them pieces out there in different shapes. I know there's a two-handled one out there, and but this is the only one that I know of around our area. Honeycomb hobstar vase and amethyst. They make a few of these in amethyst, and there's, I don't know, one blue one or two blue ones. I'm not quite sure. I know Karen had a blue one. These up here are pretty common. They're called roses of fruit bonbons. And one here that's kind of unique, it's the same thing, but it's got like a basket weave in there, and they call it a fruit basket. And a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know it when I bought it. I thought it was a roses of fruit bonbon when I first bought it, and until I got educated. And then on the club set there's a few of the heart-shaped ones and the diamond-shaped ones. And then here a couple years ago, a guy in Texas got a hold of me. He had the spade. So we got it. There's got to be a club one out there somewhere. So if anybody knows, give me a call, because I'd love to have it. And another item that I really like is the Dolphin Compost. We have it in the amethyst and the green one. They got the roslyn interior in them. Kind of a unique piece. This is a Stacy Wills piece here. This is the Nesting Swan Rose Bowl in Marigold. And the only problem with these are to show them off, you really got to have them down here where you look inside them, but it's a really unique piece. And then, you know, here's just another fabulous looking fleur-de-lis footed bowl. Again, you know, you spend a lot of time in collecting, trying to upgrade and things like that. Another bowl here with a pretty bird on it. So I think we covered pretty much anything on there. You know, if anybody's got any questions about anything.
Is there anything on your bucket list that you would like to still get?
Oh, anything that's rare. If it's a needle in a haystack, I want it.
There's a lot of things down at David's house I think we want.
Yeah. There's definitely some more pieces. I mean, I'd like to end up with the Morning Glory color line and things, but I mean, off my top of my head, there's so many different things out there. There's always plenty of unusual stuff to collect, and you know, the people's vases are, you know, outstanding pieces. We've never been fortunate enough to have one of them, and so another thing on the people's vases is the fellow that owns the Millersburg Glass Museum, he bought the blue people's vase, and most people know. He also bought an amethyst one. So anybody that's in Millersburg wants to take a tour through the museum, he has added, in the last year, he's added a lot of pieces of nice Millersburg glass. And it's well worth your time if you're in the area to go through the Historical Society house out there and the museum and just check it out, because he's really done a fine job with. And for public knowledge is the guy, he privately funds all this himself. He doesn't get any government money. He's a very nice guy. He's a retired college professor from Virginia. And him and his wife would come up to Holmes County and spend their vacation times up there. And well, he got to liking it up there, so they moved up there. Well, she didn't like it there, so she moved back down to Georgia, to Virginia, and then ended up in Georgia. And they separated and stuff. And he stayed up there, and he run into John Kalai, and he really liked his glass, so he ended up buying a bunch of glass and starting a museum. And he never bought it to make money off of it. He had a place he rented downtown on Main Street, and he thought he'd charge $3 admission, just help with electric bill or whatever like that. And people go in there at oh, I don't want to go in $3. So anyhow, the Historical Society offered him a place out there, and so he put it out there. He gives them the money that they take in to go through it. He gives it to the Historical Society. Just a fine gentleman. Just for some reason, he just fell in love with Millersburg glass, and he comes up there and so he has put together a very nice collection. It's well worth going to see it now. So, you know, anybody comes up there, please stop in. And so again, I'd like to thank you all. And
anyone have any questions?
So I have a comment.
Yes.
Because I'm not ready to make a question.
No, it's not for sale.
I love the fact that you use the word neat, and it's too cool to not buy,
Yeah.
and it sort of shows you're not out there on the hunt as much as something grabs your eyes.
Right.
You just can't stop at that point
Yeah.
in time. It's a very dangerous addiction.
Yes, it is.
From what I can see, it looks to be between the two of you too, which is sort of bad, because you're not competitive at all, fortunately. So
No,
I said,
I just love it. It just shows that sort of this is just a love, not necessarily even a hobby.
absolutely.
So,
right,
it's
absolutely.
sort of cool to see that.
Yeah, I told him he needs to go to Carnival Glass Anonymous.
Yeah. But I just, you know, I've always, you know, one thing I loved, years ago, I drag raced a lot. A couple buddies of mine I went with all the time, sometimes I'd tell them on Saturday, I said, I won't be there Saturday, I'm going to an auction, or a glass auction. Yeah, they used to make all kind of fun of me, but that's, you know, I mean, I've had it in my system for a long time. I just, when we was little kids, we run around Millersburg on the railroad tracks back there, and you look over where the used to be the dump behind the factory was, where they dumped all the shards and everything. And over the years, the rain had washed a lot of the dirt off, and it just looked, as little kids, we called it glittering dirt, because it just looked like glitter. You had all that iridized glass and stuff just shining everywhere over there. Well, But 1968, there was about 4 guys got together and they did what they called the dig. And they dug down as far in some areas as 20 feet. And the idea of it was they wanted to be able to verify what was actually made in Millersburg, because they'd find a piece of somebody else's stuff there or something, but that was pretty simple. You know, if you find one pattern, it's all right there, and you don't find anywhere else that you dug, you don't find anymore. So probably it was a good chance it wasn't something that was made at the factory, that it was a piece that they brought in and tried to look at, interested in, maybe try to figure design or whatever reason they got it. I mean, but for the most part, that's one of the biggest things, in my opinion, that helped the Millersburg Glass was the dig, because they had just buckets and buckets. And one guy had like 5 barrels of shards that they dug out of, washed them and cleaned them up and everything. And we actually, Jim Seek actually passed it on to us here years ago. The Marie McGee book that was made, he had the notes. A lot of the original people just took pictures with their old Polaroid cameras or whatever, sent pictures out to Marie and different descriptions and stuff like that on when she made that book. And she also had 2 display cases of shards in it. And we forgot to bring the shards. We wanted to bring the shards along just because it's unique. It was, you know, and the unique part of it was, it says on there who sent the shards out. One was John Kalai, sent one of them, and George Irving, which his daughter was a judge that my wife worked with for years, and he was the other one that they'd sent him out there for her to help her identify some of the Millersburg glass and stuff. So there was a lot of effort spent to really determine if something was made in Millersburg and stuff. You know, some people, they'll talk about maybe the woodpecker vase, acorn vases, or the blackberry bark. You know, yeah, they're not so sure it's Millersburg or anything. Well, rest assured, I'm positive it's Millersburg. All 3 of them have got similar designs on them, but you know, I've been to the guy's house and he's got a lot of shards of that pattern, different things on them that shows that.
Well, and in the dig they found that Vaseline woodpecker.
The woodpecker, yes, and that's the coolest thing, and I've been trying for 10 years to buy that little woodpecker. I haven't got it done yet, but...
Tom Bumpus had a question.
Yes.
Is there not a green Morning Glory picture for sale this weekend?
There is. Tom Burns is selling one.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Ann to buy it.
Right. Yeah.
Good luck, Tom.
Well, get online, Burns Auction. It's on there.
Yeah, it's Sunday, Tom.
Sunday?
Yeah. But
Yeah, Sunday.
so.
Anyone else have any questions?
It's a weird question of all your beautiful stuff. The color of the compote, the blue, it's so different than Millersburg. Do you think it possibly could have been made by Jefferson or somebody else?
Well,
it's not your typical blue.
There's actually several pieces this around Holmes County. There's an Amish lady come into Ben Hirschberger's out here a few years ago before Ben shut down, had in the highest star vase, two of the short compotes. And she carries them in a popcorn, or a
pop flat. Dinging.
And they're just clanging, banging, and poor old Roman, Ben's dad there, you know, 70 years old, oh my, he gets them and they look at them, and they offered her a lot of money for it, but she just wanted identified. It would pass down, and that's the way a lot of the Amish do it, come down through the family, and she would have been the 3rd generation to get it, and she was told it was Millersburg, but she didn't know it was Millersburg. That color. Exactly that color. Ray Miller had a short compote in that. Steve Mogg's got 1 or 2 of them in that. There's probably at least 10, 12 pieces in this color of blue.
And
you know, I'm sorry?
Doesn't he have a darker blue one or something like Ohio Star?
Well, that's Ohio Star.
That's the dark blue.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at this in the thick part, it's darker too. We've had a lot of them together and talked about it. And I think it's just the regular Millersburg blue that just looks different because there's no iridescence on it or anything. I mean, I guess that's my story, but we've talked about it a lot. We've actually got the pieces together to compare them at different times because it doesn't look like a normal Millersburg blue. And so we're pretty confident that Millersburg made it.
Sandy.
I got a quick question. I don't think I've ever seen this many Millersburg compotes that are so unusual that I've never seen anything like them before with those tall stems.
Mhm.
And they're just absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
I really like them.
Thanks.
Yeah, I really like the little compotes and stuff. They had a thing on HOC one time, sending in all of them. I think I sent a few of them in one time, but they're a neat little piece too. From down to the little ones to the big ones, and so yes.
It's good to hear you mention Murphy McGee.
Yes.
She probably did as much for Millersburg as has ever been done.
Absolutely.
Oh, I believe, yes.
We all agree. I never had the
Pleasure.
chance to meet her or anything, but all the reading and stuff I got, she is very well respected. She did a lot of work to identify Millersburg, and she also did a lot of work. She worked with the 4 guys that did the dig, and that's why a lot of the shards and stuff was out there. And what Jim gave me was really special because we got them back, because I like it. Like a lot of these pieces I get from somebody's nice collection or something, and I feel I got something from, the Morgan collection, or I got somebody from Bumpus collection or whatever, and it's a connection, and it means something. We love the glass, and it isn't just, we don't buy it to sell it. I mean, we've had people call up. One person called up on the acorn vases, give me a crazy offer for it. I said that it's not for sale. Anything's for sale at the right price. They up the ante on it. Okay, then they give it a real stupid one offer. And I said, they're not for sale. Someday if I decide to sell, or we want it to sell, that's one thing, but we don't buy the stuff to sell it. And the stuff that we sold, the only reason to sell is because we want to try to end up with just so many pieces that fit up where we live every day, so we can enjoy it. And so we just been upgrading, and other than that, but I'm not much for bringing glass to a room and sitting there and trying to sell it. I'm not the salesman when it comes to that, but
He likes to go talk too much.
yeah.
And that really is the fun part of the convention.
Yes.
Pretty good at buying them.
So
Also, I want to mention that the Millersburg Club started in 2012, and we do have some applications here if anyone would be
yeah.
interested. It's $15, whether we mail the newsletter to you or email it. So if anyone's interested and would like to be a part of our club, we'd love to have you.
all righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.